So the video I did a couple days ago there about big versus small companies, pros and cons. I actually got a really good response out of it. It was a really good video suggestion. One of the questions I got from Mud Dog asked if any of the bigger companies that I worked for, or any of the bigger companies, had like a preferred rigging shop or something like that where a guy could go get their boots and stuff like that on the tab and then have it taken out of your check later on. And yes, and even a lot of the smaller companies would do that and still do that nowadays for, not everybody, because there are some guys that took advantage of it. Thanks, guys. When I very first started working in the woods, Weyerhaeuser actually had their own rigging shop that we could go to, and you could get boots and stuff like that at a discount. And if you worked for Weyerhaeuser, you got an even bigger discount. But for the most part, that Roberts Logging Supply there in Springfield, just about every logging company has an account there. And you can go in and get boots, gloves, all that stuff. But with that being said, the last probably 14, 15 years that I worked the rigging, I never bought boots. Every company I worked for bought my boots for me as kind of a bonus. They didn't do it for everybody. And there was one company that would do a production bonus. And then it got to where they couldn't afford to do that. So what they did is they would buy one pair of boots for each guy a year, which is, even one pair is a big help. Is that when I went to go back to Tin and Hook for Rose, I was going to buy a pair of leather West Coast boots, which I normally wore. They were $529, and I was like, oh, goodness. So even if the company lets you put it on the tab and, take a little out each payday, that helps a lot. But like I say, there are a lot of companies that, for their better hands, or the good guys they want to keep around, they buy their boots for them. And in the last, I want to say like 5 years probably, everybody pays for the cruise gloves now. It used to not be, but it seems like most of the companies now, and each company does it differently. Some companies just give you 2 or 3 pair a month. When I worked for Rose, they would just give, I'd go in and get a whole dozen at a time, which I thought for the operators, I'm not sure why they give them White Ox gloves, because they, would get hydraulic or diesel soaked, and I had boxes of gloves that had only been worn once or twice, and I threw them in the washing machine and made, they were still good gloves. One company that I worked for, what they would do is you had to bring in your wore out pair of gloves and they'd give you a new pair, which worked out really good because I like to have 2 pairs, especially in the winter, so that way you could start the morning out with a dry pair of gloves and throw your other pair up on the heater or the yarder or something like that, or have them in your back pocket, so midday you could, take the wet ones off and put a nice pair of dry gloves on. So, yeah, and then you just, especially in the winter, they wear out faster, it seems like, I think because of the pitch and stuff in the summer, couldn't make them last longer. In the summer, you take and you rub your hands on the stumps that are all pitchy and then rub them in dirt and stuff. Shoot, you can get a pair of gloves last 3 weeks, sometimes a month. Now, I've seen some guys that wear gloves down to where they've got 3 fingers sticking out. Now, once I had one skin on one finger showing, they were wore out. Normally in the winter, a week and a half is probably what you get out of a pair of gloves. But they're like $8 a pair now for the White Ox. And I think they're even like $5.50 or $6 for the cheap ones. So, even if a company only buys you 2 pair a month, it's helping out quite a bit. So, the answer to your question is yes and yes. there is a preferred, or not necessarily a preferred, but it seems like just about every city around, the valley where I come from, Eugene had Western Wire Rope, Springfield had Roberts Log and Supply, Philomath was the Philomath Timber Supply, had one in Roseburg, one in Sutherland, shoot, they were all over the place. So it just kind of depend on your area on which rig and shop you'd use, but yeah, if you guys, anybody else have, any other ideas for videos that you'd like us to go over, or me to talk about, whatnot, definitely throw it in the comment section. Stay safe, get logs, friends.